we are going to continue the poem I Know America Singing. We went through the first 4 lines in our last class. Anyway, I want to repeat the paraphrase of those 4 lines. I hear the carpenter singing as he measures pieces of wood. I hear the bricklayer singing as he gets ready for work or comes home at the end of the day. Then we are going to discuss about the figure of speech in these 4 lines. While it's certainly possible that all these mechanics, carpenters and masons are literally singing to pass the hours, it seems more likely that this singing is a metaphor. I know all of you are very familiar with the figure of speech metaphor. On the one hand, it represents the pride and joy Americans take in their work. It is also meant to reflect the way America as a united nation emerges from its universal citizens, their unique songs blending into a broader harmony, so that, as the speaker says in the poem's first line, America itself is singing. From these lines, we repeatedly say that we can feel the unity among Americans. So, the speaker says in the poem's first line, America itself is singing. That's why here the figure of speech is a metaphor. As the poem celebrates the diversity and richness of American life, it also tries to find a distinctly American music. Whitman rejects European poetic traditions like meter and rhyme, which feel too constraining to capture the energy of American life. Instead, the poem is written entirely in free verse, and Whitman turns to other devices to make his poem sound musical. Actually, we already discussed the writing style of Whitman in our introduction class about Whitman. I told you Whitman didn't use meter and rhyme. Instead, that he used free verse throughout this poem. At the same time, he was very careful to bring the music effect in this poem through the figure of speeches. The most obvious of these devices is anaphora. Have you heard about anaphora? What is anaphora? Anaphora is the repetition of a word or phrase at the beginning of successive clauses. That is anaphora. Beginning of word or phrase at the beginning of successive clauses. So we can see that the repeated phrase I hear singing, which begins in the line third. This anaphora operates a little bit like a meter. It creates a sense of expectation in the reader, and it separates the poem's long lines into more manageable chunks. Chunks means pieces. So actually, by using this figure of speech anaphora, Whitman brings the feeling of a meter. The poem also turns to other devices to guide the reader through its long lines and to make its simple language feel poetic. For example, almost all of the lines in the poem are end-stopped. What is end-stopped? Have you heard about end-stopped? End-stopped means having a pause at the end of each line. Actually, this end-stopped helps give the lines a sense of definition and integrity even as they expand and contract unpredictably. By using the figure of speech and stopped, definitely Whitman makes this poem more beautiful. Further, the speaker uses devices like chiasmus. Have you heard about chiasmus? What is chiasmus? It is repetition of many group of verse elements. Verse elements including rhyme and grammatical structure in reverse order, such as rhyme scheme A, B, B, A, to make the poem feel musical without a rhyme. That's why I told you, by using the beautiful figure of speeches, Whitman makes the poem musical. By using anaphora, he brings the effect of meter. Like that, by using chiasmus, Whitman brings the effect of rhyme. Line 1, for instance, can be divided into two halves. I think all of you have noticed it. Separated by caesura. What is caesura? It is a metrical pause or break in a verse where one phrase ends and another phrase begins. It may be expressed by a comma, a tick or two lines, either slashes or upright. I hope all of you got the idea about what is caesura. That means പോയത്തിലെ ഓരോ ലൈനിൻ്റെ ഇടയിലും കാണുന്ന ചെറിയ കോമകളെയാണ് നമ്മൾ caesura എന്ന് പറയുന്നത്. ചെറിയൊരു പോസ്. So in the second half of the line, the speaker repeats the information that was provided in the first half, but in reverse order, creating an ABBA pattern. While we are going through the first and second lines, we can see that the poet separated these lines by using commas, and we can see that he used reverse order. Through that, the poet creates an ABBA pattern.
Similarly, the poem is dense with assonance. Line 4 contains, for instance, repetition of the long A sound, the short I sound, the long E sound, and two variations of the O sound. The mason singing his ass, he makes ready for work, or leaves off work. The poem is thus not only about America singing, it makes itself into an example of a distinctly American music.
I hear the carpenter singing as he measures pieces of wood. I hear the bricklayer singing as he gets ready for work or comes home at the end of the day. So I hope all of you understood the figure of speeches used in these 4 lines. Which are the figure of speech used in these lines? Anaphora, end stopped, seizure. By using these figure of speech, anaphora and seizure, he makes the feeling of meter and rhyme. We are going to continue the next 4 lines. The boatman singing what belongs to him in his boat. The deckhand singing on the steamboat deck. The shoemaker singing as he sits on his bench. The hatter singing as he stands. We are going to speak about the glossary. Deckhand. What it means? Deckhand means worker on a ship who does unskilled work. ഷിപ്പിലെ അൺസ്കിൽഡ് ആയിട്ടുള്ള ജോലികൾ ചെയ്യുന്ന ജോലിക്കാരനാണ് ഡെക്ക് ഹാൻഡ്. നെക്സ്റ്റ് വേർഡ് ഈസ് ഹാറ്റർ. Hatter means person who makes and sells hats. I think all of you are very familiar with this word, hatter. Then we are going to speak about the paraphrase of these lines. I hear the boatman singing about his work in the boat. I hear the crew singing on the deck of the steamboat. Through these lines, we can see the persons who are doing different jobs. The persons who are working in boat, the persons who are mending the shoes. But all of them are very happy while they are doing their job. I hear the cobbler singing as he sits at his bench and the hatter singing as he stands at his workstation. In these lines we can see that a cobbler and also a hatter. Both of them are very happy while they are doing their own jobs. Then we are moving to next 4 lines. The woodcutter's song, the bluff boy's on his way in the morning or at noon intermission or at sundown. The delicious singing of the mother or of the young wife at work or of the girl sewing or washing. Then we are going to speak about the paraphrase of these 4 lines. I hear the logger's song. Loggers means woodcutter. I hear the woodcutter's song, the young farmer singing on his way to plough the fields in the morning or during his lunch break or at sunset. In these lines, the poet speaks about a woodcutter and also a young farmer. So he says, when the woodcutter is busy with his work, he is singing a song. He is very happy even in the morning, noon interval, or at evening or sunset. I hear the sweet song of the mother or the new bride working or of the girl who sews or washes clothes. In these lines, the poet speaks about a mother, a bride and a girl. 3 of them are doing different jobs. Mother is singing sweet song. New bride is working. She is busy in her works. The girl is also very busy. She is sewing or she is washing clothes. These 3 women are very busy in their work, but they are enjoying. Then we are going to last 4 lines. Each singing what belongs to him or her and to none else. The day what belongs to the day. At night, the party of young fellows, robust, friendly, singing with open mouths their strong, melodious songs. We can go through the glossary of the word robust. Robust means strong. Then we are going to speak about the paraphrase of these lines. Each of them sings about their own work, their own life and nothing else. During the day, they sing songs appropriate to the day. At night, strong, friendly, young men sing with open mouths their loud, tuneful songs. So we can see that everyone is singing. They have their own different lives. They are doing different works in their lives. But all of them are very happy. They are enjoying each and every moment. That's why they are singing. Then we can see that all of them are very friendly. They are very strong. They are singing very beautiful melodious songs. Each of them are singing about their own work, their own life. We already understood people are doing different work. They are living in different situation. But all of them are very happy. They are enjoying their life. They are singing very loudly. Their songs are melodious.
We are going to speak about the figure of speech in the 10th and 11th lines. The figure of speech is enjambment. I know all of you are very familiar with the enjambment. What is enjambment? The meaning runs over from one poetic line to the next. Terminal punctuation. I hear America singing contains only one enjambment in line 10 and 11, and this classification is rather ambiguous. We have chosen to mark it as being enjambed because it contrasts with the very clear end stops that mark the rest of the poem's lines as being discrete and grammatically complete, as independent and self-sufficient as the proud American workers the poem describes. The enjambment in line 10 thus comes as a surprise, an interruption in the poem's established rhythm. It breaks the sense of sureness and containment that has otherwise characterized the poem. In this sense, it perhaps imitates the rowdy energy of the party of young fellows out at night. Like them, the enjambment is a little tipsy, a little unsteady. So you don't forget the figure of speech in the 10th and 11th lines is enjambment.
I hope all of you understood the paraphrase of the poem, I hear America singing. Then we are going to speak about the themes of the poem, I hear America singing. Work and American identity. It is the important theme we can see in this poem. I hear America singing presents an idyllic and idealized vision of American life. The poem moves from the city to the country, from the shore to the sea, introducing the reader along the way to all different works, along the way from farmers to shoemakers to housewives. When we go through this poem, definitely we will get the idea about American identity and the people are doing different works. So we can see that Whitman is speaking about the life of city to the country, shore to the sea. He also speaks about the people who are engaged in different profession and also the housewives. Traveling through these places and professions, the speaker gradually builds a portrait of America as a place where people find joy and fulfillment in productivity and honest labor, even if that labor is not typically sung about in poetry. Through this beautiful poem, the poet speaks about different professions. But the poet doesn't speak about each and every profession in detail. He just mentions all the profession. But at the same time, we can feel the people who are doing different job, they are very honest in their work. They are enjoying each and every moment. And while the poem takes care to emphasize the dignity and pride of each of these workers in their own, right? It also affirms that the workers' songs come together to form the sound of America itself. The speaker's list of jobs cuts across the whole of the United States, moving from urban professionals making fashionable hats to those engaged in rural jobs, like plowing fields, from jobs on shore to jobs on the water. We already identified the life of hatter, cobbler, masons, and also young farmer. He covers maximum provision through this poem. The speaker even includes women alongside men, acknowledging the work they do as important contributions to American society. Though the speaker limits this work to domestic chores like sewing or washing, the fact that women are included at all is notable given that they were largely excluded from American political life at the time the poem was written. The poet also mentions the lives of women. He speaks about the housewives. He also reminds us women have their own role. You should remind that actually when women are excluded from the American political life, Walt Whitman writes about women's presence and their role in American identity through this poem, I Know America Singing. In the speaker's vision, it seems everyone gets to participate in creating the American song, no matter their location, class, or gender. Even if, to the modern eye, the terms of their participation are somewhat limited and constrained along traditional lines. When we go through this beautiful poem, we can easily understand the vision of Walt Whitman. He speaks about the participation of every people in America. He doesn't give importance to their location, their work, class, or gender. What's more, all of these different workers are singing. This probably isn't literally true, though perhaps a couple folks are indeed whistling away the hours. Instead, these songs are meant to represent the joy these workers take in their labor. Americans, the singing suggests, derive a sense of pride and dignity from their productivity. When the speaker says, each singing what belongs to him or her and to none else, this affirms the right of each worker to find personal value and even a sense of self directly in whatever work they do. Through this poem, he speaks about the life of the people who are very familiar to us. Yet even as the poem celebrates self-sufficiency and individualism through these varied carols, it emphasizes that all these workers together form the fabric of America. However unique each of these workers, the poem is saying what makes America is that they are all singing. Using the beautiful phrase varied carols, he gives importance to these workers together form the fabric of America. He speaks about the unity of America. After all, as the poem's first line announces, the speaker hears America singing, Not many workers singing. For the speaker, America is a place where people get to have it both ways. They are at once individuals with personal freedom and independence. That the poem ultimately suggests is what America's song is all about. Then we are going to speak about form, meter and rhyme scheme of I Hear America Singing. Let us start with the form. I Hear America Singing is not a formal poem. It does not have a set meter or a rhyme scheme. Instead, it is written in free verse with a single stanza of 11 lines. This doesn't mean these lines are very repetitive in structure, with the first 8 all listing different professions and the final 3 going into a bit more depth regarding the character of these various songs. The lines vary in length though, and there is no real way to group them together beyond nothing these sort of conceptual ideas. None of this is incidental, but it is in fact meant to feel free-flowing and exciting. We already understood it doesn't have a rhyme scheme and meter. The poet composed this poem in a free verse. We can see that there are 11 lines in the poem. First 8 lines speak about different professions, and the final 3 speaks about the depth regarding the character of these various songs. Actually, we already mentioned how Whitman started to use free verse in detail in our introduction class relating Whitman. So we are going to speak about meter. Like all of Whitman's poems, I Hear America Singing is not written in any specific meter. The number of syllables varies widely across the poem, from 12 syllables in line 11 to 23 in line 5. So we can see the 12 syllables in line 11, and also we can see the 23 syllables in line 5. I repeat that the poet doesn't use meter and rhyme in this poem. Though the poem has a strong rhythm, that rhythm is not secured by meter. I think all of you remembered well, instead of meter and rhyme, he used beautiful figure of speeches to make musical effect. Instead, it comes from Whitman's use of devices like anaphora and parallelism. Then I want to speak about the rhyme scheme. I Hear America Singing is a poem in free verse. It has no rhyme scheme. And although some poems in free verse do include occasional unstructured rhymes, I Hear America Singing avoids using rhyme almost altogether, apart from a few incidental internal rhymes like he and ready in line 4. Despite its lack of rhyme, however, this is a very musical poem. Whitman finds other less traditional ways to make his poem feel musical. He relies on devices like anaphora, parallelism, chiasmus and alliteration. I think all of you are familiar with alliteration. Alliteration is repetition of consonant sounds. Like all of Whitman's poems, then, I Hear America Singing that diverges sharply from the traditions of English poetry. Indeed, starting in the Middle Ages and stretching into Whitman's life, most English poetry was rhymed. So, we can see any meter and form in this beautiful poem. Instead of that, he composes these lines in free verse. At the same time, we can feel the music through the use of figure of speech. So all of you please go through the poem well. We will start a new chapter in our next class. Thank you.